this special meeting, Canton Local Board of Education to order. Will you call the roll, please? Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Knight? Here. Mr. Kveski?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
All right. Hey, thanks for coming in, guys, for this. This really is more of a board work session. There really is no set agenda other than the only thing we can talk about here is capital projects, and that's what we're coming for. So I just want to take a moment and touch base with all of you here. So as you know, we started looking at redoing the tennis courts, and our reasons for that were the fact that within the next 3 to 5 years, we were going to have to do a significant upgrade of those tennis courts. In knowing that we were going to have to put some of that money into it, we thought, why not jump it ahead? Because obviously it opens up more parking over there now that we have the new middle school. It also would make it, and not that we've had issues, but it does make it safer. It gives us more room for parent pickup, drop off over there as well. And then if we ever got to that point of being able to expand career tech, we'd have the space available to do that. Well, as we just came in here, the estimates as we started to do the work, we just got them back in last week, and they came in higher than we projected. Approximately $1.1 million for the work. Now again, I want to be very clear. That is tearing down the existing tennis courts, redoing the site over here, including all the work over at the Y property to put in the new courts. So what I really wanted to bring to you guys at this time is, as we've talked, and I say we, I mean Jason, Chris, myself, honestly feel like we're better off putting this project on hold right now at that price. Our tennis courts are still, I mean, like I said, we were moving this project ahead because of the other benefits. And the other thing with that, just to throw out to everybody as well, is we're currently in the process of applying for a grant. The governor's put out $212 million for the expansion of career tech opportunities. So we are in the process right now of applying for a grant. It's moving very, very quickly, but we don't even have all the details yet because they're still, it's kind of the building it while they fly it, but it's a great thing. They want to get this done. We're going to be applying to put an addition onto our annex that would give us an HVAC program here. We're working with East Canton, who is going to be looking to do a project over there as well. They want to add in the electrical trades. And so our thought is, as long as the board feels or is in agreement with this, that we would hold off on doing the tennis courts right now. Wait to see if we get this grant. If we do, then possibly we could include the site prep, which would be this area over here, and maybe shave off a couple $100,000 within the grant. And then at that time, now we would look to move the tennis courts because we are guaranteed the ability to expand our career tech. It would give us the more parking as well. So those are just thoughts we have right now as we look at this. The other capital project we want to talk about with you today is the improvement of the restroom facilities here. As we've talked about, it is where 80 to 85% of our problems stem from right now. If we could remodel those restrooms to, especially in the A wing, the academic wings, to meet very similar to what we have done at the middle school, we have almost a year's worth of data to see that it works at the middle school right now. I mean, we went from having a considerable amount of issues to, I think there's only been one issue with the restrooms that's made it over to me this year, where last year that was not the case. So we still want to move forward with that. We've got some preliminary numbers that have came in on the restroom. Right now, our thought though is, we talked with Beaver. What we would do is, if we agree that we're going to move forward with the restrooms still, they're going to work to get us a more set price with a little bit more lead time here going out into April. The only thing we would need to do is get ordered the doors right now, because the doors, if we don't get those ordered for all the stalls, they're worried that they wouldn't be in time. So we'd like to move forward with that. If everybody feels good, get those ordered. And then what we would do, obviously, is get on there would be, and Jason, correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but we would get on there an urgent necessity agreement at the April board meeting to move us forward to get that done so that work could start right away, basically the day kids get out of this building. So those are the thoughts. Chris, did I leave anything out on your end?
I don't think in that.
Okay.
Right off the bat.
We were going to cover a little bit of the, where that restroom facility
Oh,
project was.
yep, thanks. I forgot about it. I'm glad you said that. So the money for the restroom, here's what we're looking at. First of all, guys, we know we've already agreed in principle with the township for 11 acres of that land out the Walker property of $65,000. Then that leaves us 14 acres left that we would put up the public auction. The estimates we received in is those could go anywhere from $7,700 like to $8,200. Even if we went a low end of $7,000 an acre for those 14 acres, we're close to $98,000. You put that 65, let's just say we're up there, you know, I mean, we're actually getting up there pretty good at that point in time, like 163,000. Then we did receive the safety grant from the governor's office. If you remember, we applied, we didn't receive it, then it came back, we received it. Taking some of the money out of that, we think we could get close anywhere between $90,000 to $100,000 of that to put towards it, gets us up to about $250,000. On the agenda tonight, we're gonna ask you guys to approve the Jewel settlement, which is gonna come in depending on how everything's final up. If you remember what we talked, somewhere between $35,000 and $37,000 that would go into there. And then any remaining money, we would look to cover, we'd look at the end of this school year where we are with our ESSER funds, kind of redo what we have left in that, and see if we couldn't pull money from that to get that covered. But to me, I feel like that is that's the more pressing issue right now that we would need to get addressed.
What was the estimated price for it?
You have
This is just the A-wing bathrooms, is that all?
Yes, top, bottom, A-wing restrooms with everything.
Right now, they're at around 400,000, but they wanted to take a little bit more time to sharpen their pencils and try to find some additional contractors interested in the work. With it being a summer project, all done in the summer, it's a really busy time for a lot of their subs right now. So they were having a hard time getting a lot of responsive bids. So pushing it back to April, us ordering the door hardware is going to give them more of an opportunity to shop the job and try to lower that cost for us.
Wasn't that too, Jason, if I'm correct, like one of them, they had to just have a placeholder even their initial like estimate because they didn't have anyone on tile, so they were
They had
just.
a $60,000 placeholder on tile for we're going to have to tear out tile and retile some of that, the way that the restrooms are built. And they didn't have a responsive bidder to this point, so they had a placeholder in there. Waiting to April is going to give us a better idea of where those numbers
So
come in.
we're talking roughly around $500,000 to do the bathrooms.
No, around four.
Around four. Around four, yeah. Around four. And that's where we were.
It's going to come in under four, but we won't know until they.
Well, Brett, we hired extra staff, right, for the restrooms. Would we still be using those people or not?
That's a good question. For the A-wing, I don't know that we would need them at this point in time. However, we're not doing the restrooms outside the cafeteria area here just because of obviously cost right now. So there could be additionals, not additional, but the staff that we have still there.
Okay.
But we would not need the staff down that we have sitting outside the A-wings right now as well.
That staff was hired for work over at 45th.
I'm sorry, Chris. She was talking about. Ned, I don't want to put words. You're talking the hall monitors.
People that would, yeah, the.
Oh, the hall monitors,
Yep.
gotcha.
Yep, but I am glad you brought that up because that's something else I would like to talk about. And I'm glad you said that. With the hall monitors, right now, guys, we have two. We have two hall monitors that are here. I think we could probably get away with one if we had this way. I think in the long run, it's going to be a savings. I'll be honest with you. It's going to be a savings on the maintenance staff. It's going to be a savings on the time our administrators and people are doing it. And I mean, again, this is not only a Canton local issue, but we've got to get it solved for us. And that's what we're working on with this. So to me, if we're moving forward, what I'd like to recommend to this board is that this would be the one we move forward on now. And then we wait until we see what's going to happen with the Career Tech Grant before we make any final decision on the tennis courts.
Where is Bridgepoint moving to? Do you know?
So I just talked to Jeff Franks today.
Yes.
I didn't want to have this conversation and Jeff Franks not have a heads up like, hey, all of a sudden you may not be doing the tennis courts. And I told him my recommendation to you guys would be that we're not that we're taking action today, but this is our chance to kind of get a sense from the board of where everybody stood with that. They're looking to buy the fire station, the old fire station, I believe.
Oh,
Yes. And so one of the things I told Jeff is if we were in agreement that we would not move forward with this, that would give them a little bit more time. We honestly wouldn't need them out until May, like the end of May. And Jeff actually said that would be very helpful for them as well, just because they were gonna have to repost with the new fire department, or with the fire department.
Yeah, it buys them another 2 months.
Absolutely, yeah, because we were talking, it's at least a solid month
Month and
to
a half,
5 weeks.
yeah.
Absolutely. I do want to mention something else that Mr. Cole brought up. I think that on the agenda tonight, if you guys look on there about hiring, you'll see a little bit later on, we're asking to hire some of our teachers that are skilled in the areas of trades to do some work. The goal with that is we're still going to send them over to the building that's over there on the Y property to get it ready. We're still going to use it for our golf team, which is something we intended to do, to give them a storage place, give them an indoor practice place a little bit for some things that they need to be able to do, and get it set for tennis, because we do believe it's coming that we're going to have to get over there. And the cheapest way we think we can get this done is by hiring some skilled people that are willing to do summer work for us, as opposed to contracting out with the company. The other things we're going to use them for then is, as they get that project done, move over to the hitting cages we have for baseball and softball right now, and really try to fix those up as well. And I actually even have a whole list of things that we talked about, even looking to maybe do a timing shed out for track, something that had been talked about, and Chris has a couple other things. But when we ask you to hire them, we're asking you to hire them kind of as $20 per hour as needed. When we get done with these projects, we're not going to just keep bringing them in to fill the time. But that was kind of the thought.
Yeah, but on the flip side, you're not gonna find any contractors that's gonna work for $20 an hour.
Well, that was Chris's thought.
Right.
And Chris, I really appreciate him thinking that way and bringing that forward with everything.
Great idea.
So, Jason, Chris, did I leave anything out, or do you guys have any questions?
The only thing I would say is, as we think of the tennis court project, I guess I don't, it's not that we're giving up on it.
Yeah.
In our view, it's still something that's going to need to happen someday. There are other ways to look at that project as well, and I know Jason and I and Brett have talked about that a little bit. So with additional time, we can look at doing that job in different ways that could gain us additional cost savings as it comes down the line. So it is still something on the table. It is something we feel strongly would improve our district, and not just for the opportunity for our kids to play tennis, but for our district in general. It would really change this campus in a lot of ways. So that is something that's still going to be worked on and still looked at to figure out what's the best way to do that job. Is it the way that we currently were looking to do it, or are there some other options that would be more cost effective to get that done?
And that's honestly, I'm glad you brought that up. That's one of the things we're looking at, because guys, and I don't know how far into the weeds we want to get with all this, but please know the money we were going to spend on these tennis courts, and Jason can talk better than me, was coming from our permanent improvement dollars. And those permanent improvement dollars, Jason, am I correct when I say we're about $700,000 a year?
We receive about 700,000. We have, at the end of this year, we'll have about 500,000 unencumbered carryover in the PI fund. So we have the funds available to do on the project at 1.1 million, but that price tag's considerably higher than what any of us were anticipating. So hoping that we're successful with the HVAC grant, and that'll help could potentially cover a portion of the cost to resurface the old tennis courts and remove those. So that cost will be part of the new tennis court project at that point, so that would be a cost savings. And then just looking maybe to go a different route on how we bid that out, with it being a smaller project.
And another thing, I think, Jason, you alluded to this earlier, answering one of Mr. Cole's questions. If it's being built not this summer, we might be able to get a better, one of the things that Beaver said to us as we spoke to them is they couldn't find a lot of people that wanted to do the work. And it's not that they didn't want to do the work, it's the market's so saturated with work right now that they got what they thought were a little bit higher than what they would maybe get at a time that's not as peak performance as, and I don't know if I'm wording that correctly, and Chris and Jason, help me out if you think I'm off, but I hope that makes sense. That maybe in the fall or, late fall, people wouldn't have as much work, that they might come in with a bid a little different than, and that's where we talked about, maybe we do some things differently and look again. But I like that how Chris said it, we're not asking this to be a dead project. We still think there's value, that's why we started talking, but we just don't think it's responsible to move forward with it right now at that price of 1.1.
The bathrooms are much more important.
Absolutely. And we think we can have those funded with exactly like we talked about.
Yes.
Part of the safety grant, the sale of the Walker property, the Jewel settlement we're gonna ask everybody to vote on tonight, and then re-looking at what's left in ESSER funds to help cover that.
Brett, I got a question. It's more for
Sure.
Mr. Knoll. What improvements, what additional improvements are you looking at making at the batting cages?
Well, that, we got heat put in it this
Yeah.
year, but the heat put in it is just to knock the chill off because it's just a block building with no insulation.
Yep.
So back in those areas, we would look to frame it in, insulate it, put some hardboard on it, and just kind of make it so that way it's, we're able to maintain and put more of a constant temperature in there.
Nice.
So lighting in the bays
Mhm.
is something that we would need to improve. So it's just a lot of little things, but all those little things for anybody that's made a trip to Lowe's or Home Depot or anywhere like that, I mean, the cost of those materials continues to go up. So by having our people do it, it's going to save us quite a bit and help offset the cost of doing some of those things. But that really what we want to be able to do is make a year-round facility there. We want
Nice.
people to be able to use that year-round. I know both our baseball and softball team use it. Our youth programs have been in and out of there, so it's something that we make good use of with the little bit of space that we have there.
Yeah, I can tell you, youth baseball is very appreciative of you guys adding the heat.
Yeah.
So, that's great, thanks.
Yep.
Are there any other questions, or it just, again, not that we're taking any action, but just in any way, because, but I just wanted to make sure that the board had an opportunity to kind of talk through and make sure that we were on the same page of what we were thinking here with that.
Okay, if nothing else, make a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Kvesky?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Call roll, please.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Knight?
Here.
Mr. Kvesky?
Here.
Mrs. Davis?
Here.
I'd like to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, someone want to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mr. Kvesky?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes as written and waive the reading of the regular meeting February 14th, 2023, and special meeting February 21st, 2023.
Second.
Any questions? Not, call the roll, please.
Mr. Kvesky?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
All right, now for the school report.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. Hey, just so you guys know, those of you that are here with us as guests, you are welcome to stay, and we invite you to stay. But also, when you were done, if you choose to leave, you are not going to offend anybody up here, okay? So that's totally up to you. Before we introduce our athletes that are here with us, I'd like to take a moment and start by introducing our students of the month. And so I'm going to have you guys come forward here. And so, Maria, if you would come up first, just I see you sitting right there, I'm going to have you come forward. Take the mic. Now, I went to school with Maria's mom, Sarah, and so I've called Maria Sarah about 15 times since I've been here at Canton Local, so just apologizing publicly to you for that one here with everything ready to go. So Hey, Maria, I'm gonna hand this to you, and you also get these 2 t-shirts. So this actually worked out really well for you. Last month, we didn't have a t-shirt. We didn't think we were gonna have t-shirts for the students of the month. So the Booster Club was stepping in, and now they've just continued to step in. So the last couple months, Grant, I know you're out there, buddy. I'm sorry you got gypped a t-shirt, but I figure you have quite a few there available for you. So, but let's go over here and read about Rain. So Rain obviously is a senior here. Oh my gosh, I was Ramnitz. I was looking at the last name. So sorry, at least I didn't call you Sarah. Maria, thanks for the correction. So Maria has participated in volleyball here at Canton South when she was a freshman. She has been a member of the symphonic choir, both her freshman and junior year, and this year she's a member of the senior art program. She has been a member of Safety World, where she's volunteered to help kids learn about safety at the elementary school, volunteered at blood drives, and has been a volunteer at the Humane Society. She's here with her parents tonight, Sarah Hale and Joseph Ramnitz. After graduation, Maria plans to attend Ohio University to major in nursing. The 3 questions: what hashtag would summarize your high school experience? I'm sorry, the next one, I didn't answer that one, I apologize. I'm having a good night so far. If you could sit on a park bench for an hour with anyone, who would it be? Maria said Maya Angelou. I enjoy her quote, which states, do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. Everything in life, especially mistakes, should be taken and used as a learning experience. Nobody is perfect, and trying your hardest is the best thing you can do. The next question that Maria was asked, what is the best thing about being a teen? Maria said the best thing about being a teenager is the happy medium. Being able to work a job and be in school while still having the fun of being young and seeing your close friends as often as you can. What is the most important part of school? Maria said, making meaningful connections with those who you learn with and from. It is very important to create close, related connections with fellow classmates and teachers. Learning becomes more interesting and less stressful when those ties are created. Will everybody please join me in congratulating here, not Rain, Maria Ramnitz for Student of the Month. Nicholas Stewart. Am I missing Nicholas out there? Okay. I didn't think I saw Nicholas, but then I just want to make sure. All right, so Nicholas Stewart is our other. We'll make sure we get this to him here as we go. At this time, I'm going to invite forward Coach Dennison to introduce our athletes and our coaches that are going to be introducing our athletes here as well.
All right, we had an excellent winner in our athletic program, and we have 3 different groups that we would like to recognize. And we will start with recognizing our cheerleaders. Our cheerleaders qualified for state again and actually placed 7th in state, which is the 2nd highest that our cheerleading team has ever achieved. So I will call up their coach, Jessica Pfeiffer, to talk about their team.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank the board and administration for taking the time to recognize our cheer team. We do a lot of work behind the scenes. We are at the games cheering on our boys, but we are also practicing 2 to 3 times a week with competitions on weekends. In the month of January alone, we did not have a day off for over 3.5 weeks, and that's including Sundays. I could not ask for a better first season as head coach. I've coached a lot of these kids since 7th grade, so it's been really fun coaching them all the way through. And I couldn't ask for better athletes to be a part of my team. The time and energy that these kids put into this routine and season is beyond measure. We never competed the same routine this season. We had to make changes week after week to perfect this routine, ultimately getting us 7th place at states. I see greatness in every one of my athletes, and we're going to continue to put in the work to get better and hopefully bring home a championship to Canton South. Okay. First up, I'd like to introduce Janiyah Hill, Julian Powell, Layla Lewis, Callie DeFori, Corinne Badley, and Lexi Hull.
Okay, we're gonna get a picture of you real fast, and we're gonna send it to Carrie.
We'll wait 1 second to get a picture taken. Jess is doing dual duty as our administrative assistant. Right, those are our cheerleaders. Next group that we would like to bring up is our wrestling team. Our wrestling team had a great year. They were PAC champions this year in our inaugural season in the PAC conference, and it was the first wrestling championship in 26 years. We qualified 10 wrestlers to the districts, which that's got to be up there as close as we've ever done there, because that's nearly the whole team. And then we qualified 1 wrestler to state. Coach Rutherford, I'll call him up. He was also the coach of the year in the PAC. So, Coach Rutherford.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the board, the administration for having us here tonight. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Being here at Canton South has been both difficult and fun at the same time. Wrestling is a very hard sport. It's hard on the body, it's hard on the mind, it's hard on the family, it's hard on washing machines, it's hard at dinner time. It's very difficult. We don't have our whole team here. I'm imagining if we would have had dinner for these guys, this place would be packed. I do want to correct Coach Dennison. It's been 28 years since our last conference title, but that's all right. Who's counting? I am. We finished runner-up in 3 tournaments this year. We had second place finishes at the Bill Dees, the Canal Winchester. 2. And we finished first in 3 tournaments this year: the Clear Fork tournament, the Green Bulldog Brawl, and of course our conference tournament, the PAC. With that being said, I'd like to introduce the gentlemen that are here today, and ladies. Coach Miller, come on up, please. Jason Miller's been my assistant for 5 years. Okay. We have sophomore Deanna Walters, freshman Ellie DiFiore, freshman state qualifier Dominic Prosperi, senior Matt Gazar, PAC champion, junior Xanon Lewis, senior Grant Treacher, junior Cody Miller, freshman D'Angelo Spear, and freshman Connor Goshtick.
Congratulations. We're going to get a picture for you guys as well, okay? Congratulations.
Those are our wrestlers. And the last group, it really isn't a group, we had an individual swimmer, his parents actually coached him, so I will bring up Mrs. Arlene Hupp to talk about Henry, who was a swimmer who qualified for the state tournament and did some other fantastic things this year.
Henry is a 4-year varsity letterman and scholastic athlete. He is the first swimmer for Canton South to compete at the state level. Henry was a district qualifier in his freshman, sophomore, and junior years and earned second-team All-County honors. His senior year, Henry qualified for the state meet, and he's earned first-team All-County honors. Henry has been the top-ranked D2 male swimmer in both the 2 and 500 freestyle in Stark County for the last 3 years. Henry is a certified lifeguard and teaches swim lessons at the C.T. Brandon Natatorium. He has also coached age group swimmers for his swim club. Henry founded the Dungeons & Dragons Club at Canton South and is a member of the National Honor Society. This fall, Henry will continue his swim career at Hiram College, where he has been accepted into the honors program.
To our student athletes and parents, first of all, thank you for all you have done in representing Canton South High School. It really was a very, very exciting year. And when you talk about 10 kids going on to districts, having state qualifiers, Henry being the first in swimming, for our cheerleaders to go down to state and to compete the way that you did and bring home 7th place. Just an awesome job to our coaches, to our families. Thank you very much. Maria, for Student of the Month, congratulations as well. You are all welcome to stay. You are all welcome to stay. But if you would choose that you would like to go home at this time, you are also welcome to do that as well. So thank you for being here with us. And then we'll have the map after and our kids and nationals.
This is nice. This has been a nice addition. Yeah.
All right, continuing on. Do we have any hearing with the public?
No one has signed up.
Okay, thank you. All right. Now we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
Like everyone always leaves right before I start.
We actually set the agenda that way and let you know where you stand. So.
All right, 3 things tonight on my report for approval. Item A is the approval of the monthly financial reports for the end of February 2023. Exhibit TA1, our cash reconciliation had total deposit accounts ending $1,935,606.92 and total investments of $12,677,009.22. And a reconciled balance of $14,542,791.84 for all funds. Page 2 lists our investments in our operating investment account. We do have, I wanted to mention, we have $2.6 million in investments that are maturing during the calendar year 2023. We still have a lot on our investment ladder that are below 1% interest rates. We're going to be able to start investing those. As you see at the bottom there, we're getting 3 and 4%. So our interest earnings should start to spike a little bit. We have seen that already with some of our investments that we hold in Star, Ohio. So on the interest income front, it's a good time to have some cash. The third page is the comparison this year to last year, the end of February 2023 to 2022. Just a couple of things to point out. It shows there that we're about $670,000 higher this year in real estate and public utility taxes. That's just a timing difference to this point. We get advanced collections throughout January and February, and then at the actual settlement is where we can compare. We're not expecting that big of a jump in real estate taxes. So in March or early April, we should start to see that correct itself when we get final settlement, and we'll be back to pretty close to where we were last year, most likely a little bit of an increase. State aid, when you look at the net of basic foundation and other state and federal, the 2 of those were right about at a zero gain from last year. This year actually slightly down a little bit. That's kind of what we planned for, so nothing out of the ordinary there. On the expense side, our fringe benefits, purchase services, and materials and supplies are all higher than where we were last year. Benefits was expected because we only got 1 premium holiday this year. Last year we had 2. That's about close to $400,000. That explains the increase there. And again, just inflationary increases we're seeing those all over the place with our purchase services and materials. So at the end of the month, we ended the general fund with $12.2 million. Last year, we ended with $9.8 million. The biggest difference being just the carryover that we started this year with compared to last year. So that's financial reports for February. I recommend those for approval. Item B is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies, certify them to the county auditor. This is a formality we have to do each year to authorize the county Budget Commission and the county auditor to collect the real estate taxes at the voted rates, actually at the effective rates. I just wanted to point out for all funds are inside millage, so the inside millage is unvoted millage. So we have 5.2 mils is our allocation. If there were no voted levies, we would collect 5.2 mils from our taxpayers. Without, I mean, that's an unvoted tax. The total voted millage for all of our funds with our operating, our PI, and our bond levy funds, the total voted millage is 52.9 mils. But then because of House Bill 920, for those that know what House Bill 920 is, schools don't see inflationary increases, so a taxpayer doesn't pay more for the same property from one year to the next just because their value went up. So the effective rate that our residences are paying has been reduced clear down to 26.4 mils. So it's voted at 52.9. Our residences are paying 26.4, and that's for all of our levies. The operating, the 1.9 PI, and then our bond issue was voted at 8, and it's being collected at 4.1. So this document basically says all that in a formal document. I recommend that we authorize these levies to the county auditor so that way they can collect those for us. And then the third item, we have one appropriation modification. This is actually for that OFCC school facilities grant, $178,315 required to be tracked in a $599 miscellaneous grant fund. So I recommend that appropriation modification for approval. That's items A through C.
All right, I move on items A through C.
Any questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Who do we have a second from?
Mr.
Kavesky? Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Kavesky?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
We need to approve invoices.
Yep.
Yes.
I just told
You need to approve the invoices. Someone want to make a motion?
make a motion that we approve the invoices.
Second.
Any questions? If not, call the roll, please.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Kavesky?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we now move down to communications.
So as we move down to communications right now, we're going to skip over athletic, obviously, as Mr. Dennison was just here. We're going to go now to our student representatives to the board, and they should have a microphone that's going to work now because Mr. Schatzel is going to hand that over to them. So guys, we'll turn it over to you and let you get started. Thanks for being here with us. Really appreciate having you guys.
This was a pretty quiet month, I'm not gonna lie to you. The first thing I have is our senior meeting we had at second period on February 16th and here, just to talk about graduation and all that entails. We are starting a stay in the game program, or it's in the works, with the Cleveland Browns to better attendance in our schools. March 15th, we had our winter sports recognition, and this past Thursday and Friday, one of our seniors in our biomed program with our CTE, her name is Alana White. She qualified for nationals in June for research persuasive writing and speaking at the HOSA State Leadership Conference, where many other students also qualified in the top 10 at the state level as well.
Just a few more things. Our juniors at Kent South took the ACT at February 28th. They either recently got their results back or are going to soon, so make sure to check their emails for that. We have Honor Society tapping March 22nd, second period, which is just all of our honor societies juniors getting inducted into their respective societies. And then the inductions for these societies are April 5th and 6th in the PAC.
Thank you guys very much. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. All right. So now moving on, facilities. Again, guys, we kind of just covered that in our special board meeting. So at this time, I'd actually like to turn it over to our Director of Special Programming, Mrs. Victoria Hesse, who's going to present to you, and you guys each should have a red folder that I gave to you. It's the one plan. And so, Mrs. Hesse, the floor is yours. Thank you so much for being here.
Not good with microphones, but that worked. Okay. So, good evening. I'm here representing the building and district level leadership teams that have been working on the Ohio Department of Education's One Plan process. This plan guides school teams through the implementation of focused areas of need and improvements over a 3-year cycle. I believe you have a copy of the presentation that there's only about 8 slides. I believe that got put in your packet. If not, I'm sorry if you can't see what the slides are. Ohio districts are required to complete the One Needs Assessment and One Plan every 3 years. These two processes open up the opportunity to receive funding for many of our programs as well as promote reflection of current practices. The Ohio Department of Education and the One Needs Assessment questions were reviewed by the building leadership teams and the district leadership teams in January and February in all 3 of the Canton local buildings, with the plan selections being made by the teams of the highest priorities. It should be noted that Faircrest Memorial Elementary is the only building that is required to do this process due to it being a Title I building. But based on building data at both the high school and middle school levels, we have been proactive in writing building improvement plans at all 3 of the buildings. You'll find that the strategic plan and the One Plan do have similarities. The strategic plan that we've gone over earlier in the year is a response to local stakeholder feedback from our community. The One Plan, on the other hand, is a response to indicators from the State Department of Education. Both the strategic and One Plans work towards improvements needed as recognized by local input as well as the state level agencies. The completion of the One Plan is one of the many steps that starts the utilization of federal grant fund monies. So we have to have that One Plan in place as we're starting to collect our federal grant monies. This process, I want to make sure everybody is aware, is not rested on the shoulders of just a small group or one individual. Under the leadership of Tricia, our curriculum director, we do have the district leader team and the building leadership teams sitting together even right here after school at one of the DLT meetings. The 3 areas that Canton local goals we've focused around are improved instruction, improved positive behavioral interventions and supports, as well as improved preparation for adulthood through the 3 E's after graduation. So why am I sharing this with you? The purpose of sharing this with you tonight is to seek feedback from the school community between now and April 4th. Our district plan, as well as the plan for each of the 3 buildings, will now be posted on the district website for individuals such as yourself as the board, as well as community members, so many that we have right now, to be able to log in, review those plans, and then provide feedback through a Google form. We would like the community members and staff to review the plans and provide feedback so that we can have that feedback by April 4th and then be able to look at the feedback, then to maybe make any changes that are necessary to the plan before our submission on April 30th. And that's what I have. Any questions?
First of all, Victoria, great job. I just want to make sure two things, and Victoria hit on it. I'm just going to restate it. This is something that has to be done in order to receive federal funds. We are trying to align this very closely to our strategic plan that we've already worked to do. But in the future, we've already talked about it. We're going to make this One Needs Assessment really become our strategic plan as we move forward, instead of looking to bring in an outside company. Obviously still soliciting feedback, This is exactly like Victoria said, going up on our website. We're also going to put out on Facebook, asking people, like to try to reach out and asking people to go on there so that they can provide feedback as well. So, thank you so much.
I think it's important to share that it is a 3-year plan, that we started with the assessment, we determined what the goals were, and this is not something that's just going to be put away to the side. It is something that is going to be worked on annually and then revisited again even in the next, after those 3 years, to see how effective was our plan, what gains did we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Jason, anything for finance and audit? I know.
Yeah, our audit for the 2021-22 school year, it seems so long ago. The auditor started working on that back in like August of 22. Finally completed. We held our post-audit conference where the auditors went over the results. We did have one, even though it's a bad word, it's a finding, but it was a clerical error just at the year-end compiling of our financial statements. So when we record payables, there was an error in recording a retainage payable. They found that error when they were reviewing the financial statements, so they had to report on it because they had to make an audit adjustment or a financial statement adjustment, so they were accurately reported. So we did have that issue in there. Rest assured, it wasn't missing money. There was no funds misplaced. We didn't even code anything improperly when we actually did the transaction. It was just compiling the accounts payable number and putting it on the financial statement. So still don't like to see a finding on our audit report, but if we're going to have one, that's the type of finding that you want to see. It still was an unqualified opinion. It doesn't change our low-risk status for a federal grant audit, so there's not really impact to the district. There's no financial penalty for that. There's no additional testing that has to be done by the auditors. So the audit report is available on the Ohio Auditor's website, about 100 and some page document. So if you have some free time and want to read it, let me know. I can point you in the right direction. We'll also have a link to that on our website, to the Treasurer's Office page. So the board have any questions on that? You guys should have all, I think everyone received the entire packet. Mr. Tedeschi and Mr. Davis did attend the post-audit conference. So.
I didn't want to interrupt if there are any questions. Perfect, thanks. Okay, so first of all, you guys do a great job. I can cross things off my superintendent update, but just a few more things to add in there. We have had a lot of great performances here in the Performing Arts Center. Starting Aladdin, unbelievable job. Our Aladdin Junior, our middle school students, a lot of fun. And it's so cool to see how many kids are involved in that when they come out on stage at the final current call, especially high school kids that are coming down and helping. So just a shout out to Mrs. Fattinger and our entire crew that makes that happen. I don't want to leave somebody out, so I'm just going to say Mrs. Fattinger's crew, amazing job. We had our third grade musical here the other night. And again, so much fun. I actually don't know who's more excited, whether it is the kids coming out on stage or all the parents out in the audience when their kids come out here. I mean, it's kind of an unbelievable scene, but it was a lot of fun. Our kids did a wonderful job on that. Angie Feller, again, did a very, very nice job, and our team of organizing that. Our math tournament, we're going to have these kids in coming up at the April meeting, but we went to the countywide math tournament. We had 2 students place first. We had several other students place in the top 8 in their respective categories, and we're going to bring those kids forward. But just a great day. Our team that takes the kids over, the Stark County ESC, for putting that on. If you ever want to see a lot of fun, go watch the math kids dance at the dance party. Were you guys involved in the math tournament? I'm seeing you shake your head. That dance party is something else when you see them up there ready to go. It's a blast. We had this weekend here, we had Into the Blue, which is a ELO tribute band. Not a huge crowd, but the people that were here were into it, really enjoyed it. Had a lot of compliments walking out the door of people on our facility, on the band. The band was very complimentary. They want to come back. So again, it's staying in line with what we're trying to do. We're working to get a concert series put in place here where this facility is being used, and we're providing opportunities for our community. Already reached out to a band for next year to kind of get that rolling here. So excited about what we can get done and continue to use this Performing Arts Center to provide opportunities not only for our kids, but our entire community. Spring break coming up. I know you guys are counting down the days till that. Next week we will be on spring break. The central office will still be open, but the buildings will be closed down there. Waiver Day. Just want to touch base. If you guys, we put them back in for this year, coming up for the 2023-24. But we just had our second waiver day on Friday where our students didn't have to come, but our staff came in. I just really appreciate you for supporting those. Those were very, very valuable days. I know talking to Mrs. Hookway coming in, she said it was very valuable for the cafeteria staff. I know our teachers were in the building levels, we're able to get meetings, we're able to review curriculum, we're able to look over things and then get some time to really go back in and do the professional work that requires to do this job. Our classified staff, we were able to get some really good meeting time, training. Mrs. Davis has always made a good point, and this is the truth. Getting our entire classified staff together is very hard because their hours are so different. Some come in at 10, some come in at 7. So to be able to bring everybody in and for them to hear the same message on what we're doing with things was great. We also had an outstanding speaker from the county, from Spark, come in and talk about cybersecurity. I think everybody left here and went and changed their passwords immediately when they walked out the door. But it was really good. So I appreciate your support of those days. And we're looking forward to making them productive as we move into next year. But other than that, that's really my superintendent's update.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll move on to superintendent's report.
Okay. All right, so for item A, resignation, the only one that we have on there is Erica Karavic. She is going to step down, resign as the 7th grade trip coordinator. The reason for that is we're not going to take a 7th grade trip. As we work to get the days that lined up with Cuyahoga Valley National Park for our kids to come, the only days that we could get lined up fell into our testing window, and we just felt like that would be disruptive, so we decided not to do that. So that's why Eric is stepping down from that. So we just need to make sure we do that, and obviously I recommend that we accept that. Item B is really just something that has to be done every year. It's a procedural thing. As a local school, we're required to non-renew every supplemental contract every year. This is nothing more than procedural. We're moving forward with everything else, and obviously to make sure we're compliant, I recommend that we do that. As you move down to item C, employment here, Joe Blevins has been a bus driver for us and worked in our cafeteria. He was one of those dual classifications, built up a lot of really goodwill with his work ethic, and we had a lot of people going to bat wanting him to be that custodian that we hired to replace Rick Wessels, who Friday was his last day of retirement. So we'd like to recommend Joe Blevins for that. Heather Manzoni is a 3.5-hour district cafeteria worker. Jessica Hilton as a 3.5-hour cafeteria worker. And then the next couple, if you look there, Rochelle Obradovich as a substitute, Melissa Smith as a substitute cafeteria, Andrew McMillan as a substitute custodian. As you guys know, you can never have enough people that can be substitutes for us and available to come in as things go throughout the year. We'd like to recommend that we approve them. Aiden Leahy, volunteer baseball coach. We'll probably have to abstain on the next one here or pull this one out, but Mr. Knight as a volunteer track coach. Maggie Serrato, I'm so sorry. We forgot to get her on the event workers page to be approved to be paid to help us work at those winter events. And then the next 6, Chris Berger, Craig Kenrick, Jeremy Knoll, Matt Knoll, John Philippi, Ryan Fricky, those are the people that we would like to hire to do that work that we had talked about in the previous board meeting at that $20 per hour rate as needed. So I'd like to recommend that we approve all of those to be hired. As we move over to item D, gifts and donations, I would like to ask that we accept from Bill and Pam Wright for student yearbooks at Faircrest Elementary, a $500 donation, an anonymous donation to the Lunch Angel account, an anonymous scholarship donation, and then an Altman donation for student water dispensers of $750. Obviously, with gratitude, I'd like to recommend that we accept those. Our open enrollment policy, item E. Guys, there are no changes to this as to previous years, but we do have to approve that we put this into place. As long as it is approved, our open enrollment period will open up on April 3rd. We did make a change that we're asking people to submit documents online as opposed to lining up. And if you guys are aware, in the past, that can get pretty crazy of people lining up to come in. It is going to be a school day this year. It's not over spring break. The first day of April that was open for business is April 3rd. We thought this would actually be better and a little bit more convenient for the fact that we won't want any interference to the school day going on. So obviously I recommend that we approve that. Item F, board policy. This is the first reading here. I'm going to turn over a little bit to Mr. Schatzel to explain some of them. The majority of these are just updates as we go through from Neola to keep us in line, keep us up to date with the most recent changes to any laws or updates that come through. Mr. Schatzel does have one that is not in Neola there. Do you want to explain, Jason, that one there?
Yeah, policy 6220.01 is the second to last one that's listed there. I did send out an email. I noticed it wasn't in the packets that you have, but I handed out a copy to everybody to take a look at. OASBO is a professional organization that I'm a member of. They sent out a guide for a cash balance reserve policy. Because a lot of school districts in our state right now had an influx of resources for coronavirus relief, ESSER, there's a lot of schools that have hired significant amounts of staff, and when that ESSER funding goes away, there's got to be a plan in place for if those positions are needed and they fall into the general fund, what does that look like on the general fund's 5-year forecast? So they sent out a bunch of sample policies for a cash balance reserve policy. It's not something that I think we're waving the white flag now and saying we're in trouble. But when the time comes, it's good to have a cash balance fund reserve policy like this. It sets the expectation for the treasurer and the superintendent that says, our policy is very specific. It says in the first 3 years of the forecast, if our fund balance dips below 20% of what our prior year operating expenses were, we'll notify the board and then move forward with a plan on how we try to rectify that potential downfall. So it's basically like a flat line for us to decide when we need to meet with the board to start those discussions. Again, not something I'm looking at this year or next year, but with the expiration of ESSER funds and the fact that our revenue has been pretty flat the last few years in the general fund, and expenses continue to increase, it could be something that's needed, and it would be nice to have in place at that time. So, and then the last policy, property inventory, that was a Neola policy. We just added a section to it to appease our auditors. They asked that we expand on our capital asset policy just to list what our capitalization criteria was and how long we depreciate all of our capital assets. So we added that last section that you'll see in that policy. That was it.
Thanks, Jason. And guys, just so you know, again, this is the first reading. We'll have them back again. If there's anything that comes to your concern, anything between now and April, please bring to me as well. I do plan on having a couple more policies. One about the use of our facility that we're going to write up on our own for a first reading in April. And then the second, there is one of the Neolas that I pulled out of here about animals being on property. I just wanted us to take a little bit closer look at it because we have small animal science. So that will be on for a first reading as well in April. I just want to make sure you're aware of that, and then we'll work to get second reading in May on those. So, but I would like to approve that we do the first reading of the policies tonight, knowing that they'll be coming back for a second reading unless there are concerns in April. Item G, Canton South Course Registration Guide, something that we do every year, just asking that we approve the courses we are going to be offering at Canton South High School next year. Item H, the Canton Local District Handbook. We made a considerable, I don't want to say a considerable amount of changes, but we looked through and did things last year. There really are not many changes. The only thing I'd like to point out to you guys, just to be aware of in this, there's one thing in the athletic part that, for if you get a third offense, in it, it used to say will result in the termination of your athletic career, but there would be a meeting that would be held at an athletic termination meeting would be held with the principal. It didn't make sense to me to say will and then hold a meeting. So we simply just changed that from will result into may result, and an athletic termination meeting will. So it's one word, but it's a big word. I wanted to make sure that that was pointed out to you as you do the reading on that. But I'd like to approve the handbook. I think I just want to make sure I didn't skip over something else. Nope. Item I then, the settlement agreement. I would like to vote that we would accept the settlement agreement with Jewel. This is what we discussed at our last board meeting, but it is there for us now, and I'd like to recommend that we accept it. Item J, a student overnight trip. This is for our students that made it to nationals. Mr. Berger has submitted the paperwork. We know Mr. Forshee will be going, as well as Mr. Laughlin, as they have students that are going as well, is to Anaheim, California. What a cool experience for our kids. And those are some of the kids we're going to be bringing to you guys next week here to go as well. And that will be from the April 25th to April 30th, and it's my recommendation that we accept that. And I believe that is all of my agenda items.
All right, I so move on items A through J with the exception of item C, Rick Knight.
Have a second?
Second.
All right. Any questions? If not, call the roll.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Kowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Now I move on item C, Rick Knight.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, if not, call the roll.
Mr. Cole? Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Abstain?
Mr. Kowski?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
All right. Now we'll move on to informational meetings, or items. Business Advisory Council.
Yep, so just as we talk about, this is something that the Stark County ESC does for us, that they go and they meet with the business advisory. I did go and meet I went to the Stark County Economic Development Board. They had a conference at Kent Stark. I couldn't think of it, I almost said Stark State, but it was at Kent Stark. Really, really good. They had a speaker that came in that talked about how the workforce needs to understand Generation Z, which is anybody born after 1997. So you guys fall in that, ready to go. But it was really, really interesting listening to them, talking to, there were about 100 business leaders there. Just a really good thing. Some of the other superintendents that were there, we talked about maybe finding a way to pull our staff together to bring this person in to speak to them, just because her insight into the generation that we teach, that are going out into the workforce, that was very, very good. So the Stark County ESC does do that, but we are still making sure that we get out there as well and try to communicate. So just making sure you know.
All right. Any other questions? If not, board concerns, legislative, there's just two things, well, there are many things, but a couple things we really want to watch. House Bill 1, which is the bill that we've been watching, and it's the bill that changes how education is overseen. The bill is requesting to have the elected board members now be appointed by the governor, and then also reducing the power of the Department of Education and giving that a lot of those things over to the governor and that new appointed Board of Education, and reducing quite a bit the amount of impact the Department of Education will have on our schools, and give it all to this appointed board. So that's something that's going to be voted on by the legislature, and they've had their hearings, and it's looks like it may happen. So we'll keep an eye on that. That could change education quite a bit and how we do our daily business. So it'll be something to look at. And then House Bill 11 is, again, another bill that we want to watch, and it's, again, not a real positive thing for education. It's talking about voucher systems, and it will increase the amount of money given to vouchers for students to go wherever they would like to go. And they're projecting, one organization projected it would eliminate $1.1 million for public schools. So that's a lot of money lost. And it's a lot of students that are potentially moving. So that's something that we want to watch too. So the face of education is changing dramatically. So we'll just have to keep an eye on it. Okay, other business. May 15th.
Yeah, we had brought up about possibly needing to look at the May 15th board date. Was made aware that Chris's daughter, Roxy, is going to be most likely there's an awards dinner that night, so we wanted to bring it up now where we had time to look at how we wanted to handle maybe moving that date where it gave everybody a little bit of time, and so that's why, just when we had talked here with everything.
So is there any recommendations on that board meeting?
Do we want to just change it to that Tuesday, like we've done in the past? May 16th?
Is that?
Change it to May 16th? Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
May 16th at
Yep.
7?
Yep.
All right, May 16th at 7 o'clock.
And as we were just talking, and I just want to make sure everybody knows that next April, or not next April, the next meeting in April is also on a Tuesday night as well, with everything.
Okay, good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That brings us to questions pertaining to the agenda items or board actions. If none, all right. There was no executive session?
No.
Okay. That brings us to a motion of adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Kubeski?
Aye.
Mr. Cole?
Aye.
Mrs. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
And our next regular meeting is Tuesday, April 18th. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, yeah, thanks, everyone.